Marfoogle News live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marfin. This is Marfoogle News. We're going to go into some really alarming stuff today. Especially, I would highly recommend that right after this show that you tune into our normal show. There is more verification of exactly what I've been telling you guys today. I'm sure some of you saw in the news today. When you saw it, you were like, holy moly, this is what we've been talking about, and it just happened. So we'll talk about that later. But NATO hits back at Putin's threat of war in Europe as UK condemns Kremlin claptrap. Now, I am just going to throw it out there that a lot of the European stuff, a lot of the things that are happening with NATO, it is purposely meant to confuse a lot of the war stuff that is happening right now. It is one big psyop after another because you have multiple countries in a massive, massive hybrid war. I believe that all of our adversaries are teaming up right now, and mainly one of our biggest ones is in the cyber arena more than anybody else, with over 1 million active soldiers just straight up online sitting at a computer. So very, very crazy. Again, they said that NATO and the UK have hit back at Vladimir Putin's threat that Russia is ready for war with Europe. British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer's spokesperson said Putin's comments were a Kremlin claptrap, while NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte insisted that the alliance was willing to do what it takes to protect our 1 billion people and secure our territory. The ramping up of rhetoric comes as hopes for a U.S.-brokered peace deal in Ukraine fade. Just like every other peace deal, I knew that this was going to be a bunch of hogwash. Again, there's a lot of things going on right now that it's just like they hype people up and people believe it right off the bat, even though they know they've been lied to 1 million freaking times before. We're going to talk about that again in just 2 seconds. I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/EMP, especially during the Black Friday sale. With the code MARF, you'll get $50 off on top of the 25% Black Friday sale, which is the largest sale they have done in 4 years. I told you guys to wait for this because I meant it. This is the largest sale ever. If you've been waiting on the fence, and obviously everybody has a hard time with this new inflation freaking economy, so I definitely get it. Well, it's at most affordable. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. This will protect you against EMP and CME from the sun. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, okay. So we've got, obviously, UK and NATO. There's a lot of signs that there's always some sort of sabotage going on. But, you know, on either side, and they're both accusing each other of sabotage, and they're both accusing each other of course, screwing up the peace deal. But it's nothing that was strange to us. Now, going over to the other side of the arena, which I think is a root of all of it, why don't you talk about what just happened with Taiwan and the new law that was just put into place?
So Taiwan expressed thanks, and China was upset today after President Donald Trump signed into law legislation requiring the U.S. State Department to regularly review and update guidelines on how the United States will officially interact with Taipei, meaning Taiwan. The United States is Taiwan's most important international backer, despite the lack of formal diplomatic ties, and the issue is a constant source of irritation to the Sino-U.S. relations, given Beijing's vow to democratically govern the island on its own. So in 2021, under the first Trump administration, the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo lifted restrictions on contact between U.S. officials and their Taiwanese counterparts that were put into place after Washington recognized Beijing in 1979. The Taiwan Assurance Implementation Act, which Trump signed into law on Tuesday, says the U.S. State Department should carry out reviews of contacts with Taiwan no less than once every 5 years. The law affirms the value of the U.S. interaction with Taiwan, supports a closer Taiwan-U.S. relation, and stands as a firm symbol of our shared values of democracy, freedom, and respect for human rights, the Taiwan Presidential Office spokesperson said. So obviously, you know, a large in-your-face sort of statement from the U.S. to China as it relates to Taiwan. And obviously, China is not happy with this at all. In Beijing, China Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jiang said China firmly opposes any form of official contact between the United States and the Taiwan region of China, as they call it.
Now, most of the things that China does, in my opinion, is under the table and through, obviously backdoor operations that are being done across the planet. And people really don't realize that. They see what the media puts out is their formal statement, but that's about it. How often do we talk about their secret operations? How often do we talk about how they are obviously, the direct response because of this event today? What is the response to that? Well, something will happen in the next few days that will be attributed to this, and of course nobody will actually hear about it. I'm gonna break down again in the next show some things that just happened that clearly show that all of this is connected. It is very, very crazy, and I do believe it is why there is now going to be a big giant pushback against anything that leads back to a certain country. It's incredibly crazy what is going on in the next few weeks, even, especially with today's ICE events in New Orleans. Very, very, very crazy. And then they said that the U.S. sends one-way attack drones to the Middle East, and they said that these attack drones actually look like they're reverse engineered from Iran's. Now, I mean, I have to say I was kind of like, flabbergasted and had to do a double take. And I said, wait, they reverse engineered the Iran drone. Again, like normally it's the other way around. People are reverse engineering our drones. Apparently this drone is so good that the U.S. is taking their blueprints and making them and sending them to the Middle East. The U.S. military has deployed the first squadron of one-way attack drones to the Middle East, of course, employing a U.S.-built drone that was reverse engineered from Iran's Shahed drones that have been used by Iran against Israel and Russia against Ukraine. Again, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, announced on Wednesday the establishment of a task force Scorpion Strike team that will oversee the first of its kind operational deployment by the U.S. military. So this is a big change. Obviously, the wars are all going towards drones, one-way drones, obviously towards smaller drones. These things are extremely hard, expensive to defend against. So we're basically fighting fire with fire. They're going to have their drones. We're going to have our drones. But what's crazy is that, a lot of people are missing that that's just going to be offensive against offensive. The defensive means to take these things down has cost just a ginormous amount of money, and they still don't have a solid way to fully stop these. Now, with countries like China fully going full all in to drone technology and having drone carriers and even drone plane carriers that will actually deploy hundreds, if not thousands of drones onto a site, this is something that they have to address right away. Now, as far as World War III goes, a lot of skeptics out there want to say, the people have been saying that for years. Well, I will have to say, there has never had these kind of events line up like this in so many different ways. From obviously cyber, a lot of folks don't think about the power of cyber, but along with many other events that have just happened, if you look at what just happened in Mexico, there's even more evidence coming out about those Mexico protests. I talked to you about this. The first thing I thought is they said, this is Gen Z protesting. Well, again, those Gen Z, apparently there were videos released in the 3 days leading up to that protest, almost all and completely on TikTok. Now, some even wondered, since, this was sold to the U.S., if there was some sort of U.S. involvement. But it turns out that the fine print is still being gone over, that China still controls, ByteDance still controls that algorithm, and that is something that people really don't think about. That our social media and our media itself, if you have the highest people paid in media companies and you have all of the checkers checked, then you can literally manipulate entire populations into doing things. This is incredibly scary, especially some of the things we've covered like NeuroStrike and other technology that could even take it a step further and straight up control populations. We're talking about, brainwashing at its finest, where you don't even know you're being brainwashed. My gut has said that this is all connected this entire time, And it's just every single day, there's more and more evidence that this is not only a massive, massive hybrid war. We're already in war. With what's going on in Venezuela, I am absolutely sure that what is happening down there is all targeted towards all of the caravan states that came up. And that's because there is manipulation going on from other countries in all of this. And there is a money trail that goes to Venezuela, to Colombia, to El Salvador, to Honduras, all these places from a certain Eastern country. They have been essentially doing tech loans and all sorts of other loans, billions and billions of dollars, going back to 2019, that all show that they are absolutely bankrolling a giant chunk of all of these governments that are involved in all of this news today. Now, what I just said, now, of course, the media and the paid media is going to be obviously putting out there that, this is crazy and it's harmful to these certain peoples and this and that. It's my opinion, and I'm going to stick to it until everyone sees it, because I guarantee there is absolutely something right in front of people's faces, and somehow people have been brainwashed not to see it. I'm going to show you some stuff on the next show that's just, it should blow your mind, especially if you've been watching all this week, because what today's events happened, it is an absolute breakdown. Again, I'll just give you a teaser. These events today went exactly towards every single country, even some of the ones that we haven't been mentioning that are on that Darien Gap route. All of these are being hit. And of course, there were some other ones in this huge event today in New Orleans. So we'll talk about that over on Marfoogle TV. Make sure to join us and make sure to subscribe, email, sign up for our email, and make sure to know all of our backups. All right, you guys, have a good night. Be safe. Be prepared. If you want to stick around, you will be ported all the way over to the other show automatically. If you were watching the replay, please click here. Even if you think, this is a day-old news, 10-day-old news, watch this next show, because I promise you, it is going to mean something. All right, you guys, see you in a minute.